Well, thank you all so much for taking the time to meet with us today. I really appreciate it. I think it's super cool that we're all just kind of meeting together. We're going to be able to get to know each other, connect, and learn how we together can rebrand the DMV to be more about this creative environment where it's all about community and meeting others. And yeah, so we're going to talk a little bit about that. But just to give you an idea, this is meant to be an interactive event, so I'm not going to be sitting here just talking your ear off for the next hour. We are going to talk, chit chat, get to know each other a little bit. But yeah, so let's just get started into the presentation. So some of you guys have heard of Caught Up, some of you guys may not have, but so that we're all on the same page, Caught Up is an app that me, Steven, and Luis have co-founded to help make it easier to stay connected with friends. We realize in our own personal lives that as we get older and our schedules don't fully align with our friends, it's so much harder to stay connected and know what's going on, or even just to make a plan to go meet up for lunch. And so we're trying to make an app that really makes that easier. And as we talked to some of you guys and discussed what we're trying to do and learned about from you guys about your pain points and how hard it is to stay connected with friends, we realized that there are a lot of people in the DMV who are working on super cool and creative projects to foster community and in all different kinds of ways. You guys here, each of you are working on something, and it's super dope, except if you want to switch to the next slide, Stephen, we also recognize that the DMV is super behind in fostering an actual creative environment. When you think about the DMV and you think about its reputation, it's super businessy and political and busy, and which is all great things, but it's not fully conclusive of what the DMV is and who the DMV is made up of. In fact, that reputation is more the transplants than it is the locals here. So we realize that there's not a lot going on here compared to like Los Angeles or New York or Detroit or Chicago, where it can help people get connected to similar minded people, learn about different passion projects going on, and stay connected and meet others. So we wanted to do something about that and kind of connect our mission of Caught Up, which is to make it easier to stay connected with friends, with this mission that we realize is kind of connected with a lot of other projects going on here, which is the DMV needs a creative environment. It needs a way to kind of bring out this energy. So what we want to do is use Caught Up to help do that, to help rebrand the DMV. And we want to talk to you guys today about how we can do that. So that's exactly what we're going to do. So to give you guys a look at our agenda today, first we're going to talk a little bit about who we are. I've mentioned a little bit already of like what Caught Up is. I'll introduce myself a little bit more, then Stephen and Luis will get the opportunity to introduce themselves as well, so you guys can kind of get to know us, get to know why we care about this mission and where we're coming from. Then we'll give you guys the opportunity to introduce yourselves as well. We're all here from different places. We all have different mutuals and we're all working on different super cool projects. So I want us all to really get to know each other in that regard. So we're going to give you guys the opportunity to introduce yourselves, say what you've been working on, get connected to each other. And that way, once we've kind of warmed up and learned about each other, we can really talk about the DMV, what its current reputation is, what we'd like its reputation to be, and what the action plan can be of how we can get it there. Of course, we're going to also talk about how we can use Caught Up to get there, but really the main goal here is for us to talk about what kind of event we can do next. This is a virtual event to get us all to know each other, but what can we do as the next step to really continue to improve the DMV's reputation? So, to introduce myself, my name is Taz. I was born and raised in Arlington, Virginia. I went to Wakefield with many of you guys here, and actually went to college as well with Steven and Luis. They started Caught Up during college when they started to realize it's a lot harder to stay connected with friends with all different schedules. And I had been on the sidelines hearing about the journey, giving my feedback where I could, but it wasn't really until this summer that I joined as a founder myself, when I realized that their mission and my personal mission to change society for the better were very connected. I, on the side, also host a podcast called The Hustle Legacy, in that I talk about my personal experience experiences and my journey of self-discovery. And my hope is with that to create an environment and a community that empowers every hustler to really face their truths and their realities and make an impact and change society for the better. So a lot of that felt very similar to Caught Up. I really saw where the two can join together. So I joined the Caught Up team, and now we're here. And then at the bottom, I also included 3 words that I would use to describe the DMV's current reputation, and then 3 words that I feel like are more descriptive of what the DMV actually is. So, and I did this because we're going to ask this of you guys in a little bit. So, to get your gears turning, think about what words you would use as well. But if I were to think of the DMV's reputation, I would call it political. The D in DMV is DC. So, I mean, I think that's self explanatory. Professional, because if it's not the government, it's consulting and the big four that we're known for. And super posh. Like, I think people think we're very uppity around here, when in reality, we're a very diverse environment. There are so many different cultures and languages and backgrounds that make up the DMV, and it is so lively. But that is not the reputation that it is known for. That is also not what is fostered beyond if you're already in the environment and kind of know where to go and what to do. So that's a little bit about me. Now I'm going to hand it off to Luis.
All right, thank you, Taz. So, hello everyone. I'm Luis. Full name Luis Angel Cabrera Hernandez. So that shows that I was born in Mexico. Well, I was born in Ohio, and then I lived in Mexico for like 10 years, and then I came back here to Virginia, where I studied high school with Steven, which sort of transitions into like the reasons why I cared about Caught Up, because then we actually ended up going to the same college, but we sort of realized that we weren't talking as much, and we would keep bumping into each other at like random times during lunch or something. We're like, oh man, I didn't know you had lunch right now. If only like we had known, right? So that's sort of like when we started like thinking like, well, what if we make it easy for people to like know what we're up to and what we're going to do? And I'm currently a software consultant, and I describe myself as someone that actually enjoys programming. So that's where I sort of like dived into this project. But beyond that, I also like doing sports. Here are 2 variations. One is outrigger canoeing, which is the one where you see like 6 people. These are like endurance races. Typical race is like 11 miles, and then we have dragon boating, where it's like 20 people all stacked in a boat, and these are more like sprints, where like a race would be like 250. And here also, like we go on these big race days, and we all have fun, and then afterwards we're like thinking, oh, hey guys, can we like do like a team lunch? But then like everyone's trying to pack, and like not everyone's getting coordinated, and like you can see that trying to coordinate a dinner between like 20 people can get a little cumbersome. So that's sort of like the idea, where we like want something to make these kind of things more dynamic, more practical. Also on the side, I also just enjoy to draw sometimes. So I have an Instagram. I'll probably share it later. And sort of like going off that, the current words that I think are related to the DC area, I said were like business, bureaucratic, busy. You hear people talking about their security clearances and all that, but I'd rather see something more like artistic, dynamic, and to put emphasis on like the diversity of everyone. And with that, I'll transition to Steven.
Yeah, so I actually have the same backstory as Luis. In college, we found it difficult to meet up with friends, and what I've noticed is as we grow older, it seems like people just get busier and busier, and it gets even harder and harder to like collaborate and work with others or just meet up with others. It could be people with similar interests, same industry, and we want to meet up. We're trying to make time, but it's just a bit difficult because people are busy. But a bit about me. Last November, I actually used to work at Microsoft, and I left last November. I was a software engineer because I wanted to work on my passion projects. That is Caught Up, and then also my other interests. So, my other interests are like parkour and free running. I don't know if you guys are that familiar with it, but I go to the gym like pretty often just to have fun in that community. And Nisa was also in that one. But I'm actually working on growing my own social media presence. So my Instagram, it's primarily parkour, but I haven't been posting much. So once I start posting, I'm pretty sure it might change. And I also want to develop my own YouTube channel. So my YouTube channel, I want to get to a point where I can post a video every single day. Like I have a backlog of video, but just trying to make a startup, trying to get things in order so that I have the time to do that. It's just trying to prioritize things. And so, but yeah, eventually I want to develop that channel. Some things that I think about when I think of the DMV, it's business, suits, and government. But I really want it to be fun, diverse, and creative.
Okay, awesome. Now that you guys kind of have an idea of who we are and why we care about building community and what our backgrounds are, it's time for you guys to do the same. So basically, here's kind of the prompt, your name, or if you want to go by your IG handle so we can all connect with each other, what you do for a living, what your passion project is, and how you're building community, why you care about building community, and how long you've been in the DMV. Now we could do this either by unmuting or dropping in the chat, whatever is most comfortable. But yeah, let's just get to know each other a little bit, see who else is in this call, connect with each other, and we'll take it from there. So who wants to go first? Victoria, I appreciate that so much. You want to go ahead and go ahead.
Perfect. No, thank you. I love this. So my IG handle is not Vicky, obviously for reasons. It's a very complicated story, but I do not go by Vicky. I go by Victoria. For what I do for a living, I actually work with startups, help them with their marketing, pretty much to help them grow, to connect with their customers. And that kind of feeds into my passion project. I have a technology startup as well. However, I'm very, very passionate about helping startups get to different places in order for them to achieve their goals, because I really do believe startups make the world a better place. And that kind of feeds into, not the 3 words yet. Sorry, I'm jumping ahead. How long I've been in the DMV? About 15 years. I was not born here. I'm one of those terrible transplants, but I think I'm a positive transplant. And then the 3 words that I think about with the DMV, they're very similar to what you guys said, government, secret, and I think a lot of stuff you hear on the news, right? That it's a swamp, right? This political swamp, which is just a horrible, horrible visual. And I agree. It should be innovative. I love the creative, and the diversity is so, so important. It's so magical in the DMV. So that's it. So it's nice to meet you guys.
Yeah, no, it's nice to meet you too. I hope you guys all enjoyed meeting Victoria. I definitely resonate with some of the things you said about the DMV, as well as some of your passions and where your drive is coming from. I think paying all the experiences that I have, paying that forward and finding some way to build that into something that helps somebody else is really all that any of us are kind of trying to figure out how to do. So I definitely resonate with that. Thank you so much for introducing yourself, Victoria. Anyone else want to go next? Also, if any of you guys already know that you're a little shy, you don't really want to unmute yourself, take this time to chat it. Type it in the chat and drop it in the chat. I won't make you unmute afterwards. I might read it out, but I won't make you unmute afterwards. So thank you so much, Victoria. Anyone else want to introduce themselves?
I can go next.
Thanks, Andrea. Go ahead.
All right, so my name is Andrea, and I am a trade specialist at a trade law firm. And my current passion project, so Tass and I, we're in this group called United Minority Girls, which is like a college access group at Wakefield. And we're trying to restart the alumni association for that group and get it, because it kind of it was a thing for like 2 years, and then in the middle of the pandemic it kind of died. So we're trying to restart that project and connect like UMG alumni to the girls that are doing the program now and whatnot. And I'm also trying to see if I can start a college access program for especially kids in the ESL program at Wakefield. So those are kind of my 2 passion projects that I've been doing. And I've been in the DMV, so I I grew up in Panama and I came to the DMV in high school. So I spent 3 years in high school. Then I went to school in Pennsylvania and then I just came back. So like 3 years and change basically.
Yeah, I love that. Thanks, Andrea, for sharing your story. Andrea and I actually got connected earlier this year, as you mentioned. We both were in the same program in high school at different times, but we both reconnected with the person that ran that program earlier this year and realized that we both had a similar interest in kind of rebuilding the community that we left when we graduated our high school. So we've gotten connected through that and have been working on that. And it's been a lot of fun. Definitely excited about all the UMG alum that will be meeting through that. And it's definitely been a super cool passion project. So thank you so much for sharing, Andrea. I definitely also love your backstory of being a person that came to America later in life yourself and understanding these challenges that you had to overcome and now wanting to take those and help the next generation do the same. I think it's so beautiful, and definitely things like that need to be celebrated more. So that's super awesome. And then Brian, I saw you drop some of your YouTube channels in the chat, which Brian and I also got connected earlier this year in a conversation about Caught Up, actually. And he's actually the inspiration for this event. Like, I need to shout you out a little bit, Brian, because in our conversation with Brian, he mentioned how he himself is building an online audience, and he is searching for different opportunities to get connected to other people in the DMV who are doing the same. And it's a lot harder when the DMV isn't known for things like that. So it's not like you can't find anything, but it's just a little bit harder. And so that really sparked the whole inspiration for the DMV rebrand and finding a way to use Caught Up to help with that. So Brian, thanks for dropping your YouTube channels in the chat. You guys should definitely go check it out. I also have been having a lot of fun with the posts you post on Instagram. He gets super creative with how he talks about what would generally seem like boring topics. He finds a way to make it all very interesting and exciting. So, anybody else that wants to introduce themselves?
Do you want me to go next?
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Brian Sumardi. My IG handle goes by my full name. What I do for a living, I guess you could say I'm in real estate. I just say I'm a loan officer. That's like my main income source, I would say, currently. And passion projects is I just love storytelling. I spent a lot of time. I did 6 years in the Marine Corps, so I kind of fit in the DMV. Politics is not my forte, but because I grew up here in the Silver Spring area, it's kind of just in my blood now. But yeah, I mean, I spent a lot of time a little bit overseas and on the West Coast, so I kind of just figured out how people kind of like have different backgrounds, and you kind of just accept everyone for who they are. And I don't know, if I have an interest in cars or motorcycles, it doesn't matter where you're from, you still like the same thing. Or if you like a certain thing about a house or finances, like the root cause is always the same thing. And as long as you guys can connect on some sort of foundation, you can have a great relationship with somebody. But I mean, I guess how long I've been in the DMV, I grew up here, but I didn't spend a lot of time in the last 10 years, last decade. I came back at like 2018. I was gone since 2012. And yeah, ask more about me.
No, that's super awesome. I love that. I definitely didn't realize you spent so much time traveling, which is super cool. I think that in and of itself builds so much in your capital identity and your experiences and what you have to offer. As well as you mentioned how like connecting with people, you don't need to connect on like every single aspect on somebody for you to have an amazing relationship with them, and for that relationship to be something that benefits you both. I think that is something that, to get political, in the last few years, I think with COVID and everything going on, we've all kind of forgot how to connect with people because everything has been so polarizing that we're almost a little bit scared to do that now. And I think you mentioned a great point of just like us growing up here or living here for a good amount of time, even if you're not you don't identify as being a political person, it in one way or another is a little bit in your blood. And finding a way to kind of navigate that, but that not being your full identity, and recognizing that you have so much more to offer and so much more beauty to add to the world. And you're correct in connecting with people and telling your story being a big part of that. So
I think it's just trying stuff too. Like over Labor Day weekend, I went to Muse. I did that painting back there, and I was like, I've never painted before, but I had a great time.
Oh, that's so awesome. No, I think that's a great point. Like things like that is exactly what I think needs to be more accessible, where you can go and do something for fun, be a complete amateur at it, and it still be a great time and a great learning experience, and you not feeling like you need to be an artist in order to be considered like you could go painting, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think that's a great point, an awesome point.
Great place to meet new people too. I made like a couple of new friends with the teachers.
With teachers?
Yeah, they went to George Mason, and they're like professional artists apparently. 'Cause I went to the one in the Mosaic District.
That's super dope. No, that's really cool. And see, what I'm thinking about right now as you're speaking is how something like that I didn't really know was available around here very often, unless you go to like a paint this or something. And is that what you did? Did you go to like a paint this?
It was paint and sip. I was drinking and painting.
I guess it was. Well, but like I don't ever go because I don't have anyone to go with. But if I had caught up and knew that my friend Brian was going on Sunday at 2 p.m., I could hit him up and say, yo, you're doing that? Like, I've always been interested. What if would you mind if I joined? So to make it easier to kind of do things like that, and sorry guys, I'm going to turn off my notifications real quick. To do things like that and be able to connect with people and try new things, and not to make it less scary, I think is the big thing, is to make it feel less scary, and to make it easier to just go out and do things like that. And I think the one thing is having accessibility. The other thing is having people like Brian who talk about it, who advocate it, who say like it's a great thing and you learn new things and make it seem less scary, I think is a big part of that. Now I am going to give last calls for introductions, but again, I don't want to force anybody to do anything they feel too shy or uncomfortable with. So last call for introductions, and if not, we're going to move on to the next activity. And in that activity, it'll be a little bit easier to contribute. You don't have to put your whole life story on blast. It'll be more about the DMV. So yeah. Anybody else want to introduce themselves? And Natalia, sorry, Natalia.
Hey everyone, my name's Natalia. I know Stephen and Louise from Virginia Tech. We both graduated from there, BT alumni. And just from my experience there, I'm a computer science graduate, had an internship where I worked on a startup. It didn't really take off, further than the internship, but I think I got the skills of, what that process is like, and just have always been I've always admired those who participate in startups, those who've gone through the entire experience, learn from it, just like the entire thing. I really appreciate that. And just now I'm 2 years out of graduating, working at Microsoft as a customer success account manager. And I think maybe it's just like the time it's been apart from school. I feel like there's just been a separation between the startup mindset and like this corporate life that I'm in. But I think, I don't know, like this call is just giving me time to reflect on like it's still possible to like contribute your own passion projects and startups while you're doing this like 9 to 5. And I think that's just something that I keep forgetting. So I think this year I'm trying to just work on like planning more, what can I do to really use my passions to grow, and build that into my schedule. Just because I don't know, it seems like it's been a little bit hard to like make progress towards like a startup, or towards any type of like passion project. Like I love to work out. Like I guess you could say is like one of my passion projects. So working out, I want to get into like content creation. So like I'm looking at starting a YouTube soon. Don't really know what it's going to be about, but it just like hearing from everyone, it's just kind of just start it with just like who you are and just start sharing like experiences. So I think that's what I want to do. But I'm just like hoping to hear just from all you, just, you know, from just like looking in the chat, like everyone has like a way of expressing themselves through just different platforms. And I think that's just what I want to like take away and see if I can like really implement that into like my lifestyle while working this like 9 to 5, which I don't want to define as like who I am. Like I want to contribute and like pursue other passions, you know, day to day, or else everything's just gonna like, you know, time will go by and it'll be hard to really like, you know, express those passions. But that's kind of where I am. I'm in this planning stage and just trying to like get a little bit more grounded.
I love that. Well, thank you for introducing yourself, Natalia. Go Hokies. And I definitely resonate with so much of your story, like so much. I felt that when I was working at my 9 to 5, I felt the disconnect. I've always really loved the entrepreneurial spirit. And I actually was working at a startup, but it's still, to me, it still functioned. Like it was still far enough along that it felt like it just functioned like a regular 9 to 5 job. And it's still, to me, it was like I am working on somebody else's passions instead of working on what I can be contributing to the world. And that journey of figuring out what is it that I want to contribute to the world has been an interesting one, I think. So I totally get that. I mentioned my podcast earlier. I just relaunched last Friday after a year-long break, and I started this whole putting myself out there journey in like 2020. So it's really just, you got to start. And then once you start, the journey takes on its own like life, which is crazy. When I started, I would not have guessed that I would at any point sit here and talk about an app. Like that was not even on the radar, yet here we are. And that's where I'm at. And I love, Natalia, that you were mentioning how like seeing everybody else and their stories is really like filling you with that inspiration and motivation to really put that plan into place. That is what we aim to do with this event, is hope that by us telling each other our stories, we can really inspire each other. So I'm really glad that that's kind of what you're taking away. And then Nissa, I saw that you as well wanted to introduce yourself, so you can go ahead.
Hi everyone, my name's Nissa. I use any pronouns and I run a parkour meetup. I know Steven through parkour and I put it in the chat. I have this Instagram, it's Capital Parkour DC. Feel free to check it out if you're interested. But with me, I'm just, I think, kind of a connected person in some ways, not always because I want to be. You know, I serve on my condominium association. I don't know if you call that civic involvement, but I do it because I feel like I have to move things in a good direction. Yeah, so that's just one thing I do. I'm involved in employee resource groups at work, and we do advocacy to the extent that we're allowed to do that within the workplace to make it more welcoming to different affinity groups. So that's some things I do. I've worked on several sports meetups, and honestly, I do it because I want there to be sports meetups. I run an LGBT climbing, rock climbing meetup, for example. So really, I feel like I create in order to make the spaces I want to exist. So that's where I am. And having talked with Steven, I think there are different frustrations with organizing. So I am interested in hearing from other people what organizing is like. But when it comes to DC culture, I would definitely agree with calling it transient, at least in my experience. I've been here for 12 years. That's the longest I've ever lived in any place in my life. And again, this is my experience. I know this doesn't happen to all of you, but I'm hearing there's like some high school connections on here. But for those of us who came in, it feels like from somewhere else. I've had to remake my social circle every 3 years is what it feels like. And in the past, I have gotten a little heartbroken about it. You know, it's like you make a good team of friends and then they leave. But it is just constantly evolving. And it does feel like DC is a little bit more of that kind of culture than other places. But then on the other hand, I do think we have creatives here. Maybe it's just the circles I run in, but definitely like, what do they call it? Movement arts, flow arts, fire spinning, slacklining, various hippie activities. I feel like a lot of people might wear suits during the day, but have a lot of artistic personal endeavors. So I like even just like the sports and things that I'm interested in, it often becomes a question, not really of people being like, oh, that's so uninteresting. They're like, oh, well, I'm also slacklining that day, and I'm also doing this that day and doing that day. So I just don't have time in my schedule for your thing. So I would say, like, I do think DC, the DMV area, might be have less of an arts culture than, say, I don't know, again, I've only been here 12 years, Baltimore, for example, but I do think we have some art space, just maybe not as big and developed as, like, New York City or somewhere else. Yeah, that's all I got. Thanks for letting me introduce myself. See ya.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for introducing yourself. I think a lot of that, again, I definitely resonated with. I think we all in this call can kind of feel relate to a lot of parts of our different stories. When you mentioned how you might not always want to do everything, but you do it anyways because you see a need for that kind of environment. So if it's not there, you create it. I get that. Like half the time when I'm like working on my passion project, I don't want to, and then I remind myself, if I don't, it'll never exist. So I totally get that so much, and just again, like putting yourself out there, and then you do meet people, but then the people you meet might also have a million other things going on, and then it's just hard to connect and stay connected, and finding ways to like be able to at least keep that connection, even if you don't find a time to meet up. At least you know that that relationship is being worked on and built in some way. I think it is super important. And so I'm really glad that all of you guys got a chance. Oh, there's Nicole. I'm not going to round off just yet. Nicole, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, my name's Nicole. I guess a little bit about myself is that I'm currently a student at LSU. I'm studying architecture and I'm graduating this May. Sort of, I guess, like my passion project right now is I'm currently like the gumbo editor for LSU. It's like a LSU yearbook that they have. And it's something that like I've been doing it for 2 years now and I really enjoy it just because it's able to like let me bring like the LSU community closer to like everyone, like all the students to like view the yearbook, and it's really interesting to see all the like different events that we've been having throughout the whole school year, and people can like reminisce on like those memories they've had. And then sort of like we also have like a different section in the book that I really like. It's like we go around and we interview different students. I think we interview at least like 50 students, and then we put them in the yearbook and we sort of ask them like different questions like what's your favorite thing about LSU, or we ask them like do you enjoy fall or spring semester more, and sort of questions like that about LSU. So I really enjoyed doing that, other than doing school. And I've been at the DMV my whole life, except right now I'm just in college. But yeah, that's just like a little bit about myself.
No, I love that. Thank you so much for introducing yourself, Nicole. I think that's super cool that you kind of get to share not just your story but other people's story as you're working on this. I think that's super dope. A lot of us here seem to have very strong passions, and that is why we chose you guys to invite you guys to this event, because we recognize each of you as somebody that does more than the bare minimum to create the world that they want to live in. And it's super dope hearing all of you guys and all of your different stories. I hope all of you guys also found the different stories that you may not have heard before super inspirational. And now, as we go into our next activity, I'm going to talk a lot less and make it open to all of us to kind of make it an open table. So less of a one-on-one with me and y'all, and more of a full on, let's talk about it kind of situation. Stephen, if you want to move to the next slide. So we already started to do this, which I love. We've already kind of got the ball rolling. All of you guys mentioned different things about the DMV and ways you'd want to change its reputation, which is awesome. So I'm going to give you guys an idea of what we were kind of thinking, and then I'm going to open it up for us to literally brainstorm and talk about how we can stay connected with each other and continue to change the DMV's reputation. So what we wanted to do is, through this event, connect all of us together so that we could kind of hear our stories and see how there are so many other people with so many other different passions and creative projects that can potentially help one another. Like Natalia, you mentioned hearing everyone's story really is inspiring you to get a plan going. Well, maybe one of us will have a conversation with you that can really help flesh that out. Or Andrea, you mentioned that you're trying to build the UMG alum network, and maybe there are things that someone here does to build a community that we can then bring onto that. So there's so many different ways that we can help each other, but that really starts with us staying connected with each other. So I kind of want to discuss, if we were to have our next event, what you guys would want to see from that event, what we want it to be, and how we'd want it to be the next step towards rebranding the DMV. So I'm going to make it open. If anyone has any ideas or thoughts, or just wants to continue talking about the DMV and how they feel about it to get the ball rolling.
Does this have to be a virtual event, or could it be an in-person event?
It could be either. I think the end goal is obviously eventually I'd love to see you all in person, but that does not have to be the next event. Like we all said, we have busy lives, so we can plan another virtual event. We can plan an in-person event. We can plan a dinner. We can plan a painting night, like Brian mentioned. We can do whatever we want. The world is our oyster. Like, truly and honestly, it's about how we want to express our creativity. Some other things. Oh, go ahead, Natalia.
Oh, just one, sorry to interrupt, but I just have one idea. This is something I thought about, like maybe during the new year, but I think this is something that we can just do maybe at our next meetup. This could be virtual or in person, but creating like a vision board, like a physical vision board that you can hang up in your room or like over your desk and bring it to work, or wherever you, like in your car, just so you can kind of like look up and like reflect on like your goals, and and maybe like maybe it'd be nice in person because we could be building them together and then seeing like photos or images that we have in common with each other, and that could just like spark conversation.
Girl, I'm so obsessed with that idea that I need to show you. I need to turn my camera around and show you what I have on my wall right in front of me. Literally a vision board, and I look forward to the end of the year every year to sit down and create this. And I literally spend the whole year collecting magazines because I'm a little old-fashioned. I like not choosing the photos and like cutting them out based off of what I have, but that's just a personal thing. But I spend all year collecting magazines, and then I get a bunch of arts and crafts supplies and have a whole vision board day. So that is completely up my alley, and I love that idea. I don't know how anyone else feels about it. Has anyone else made a vision board here other than me or Natalia?
I have not, but that seems like such a fun idea, you know?
Okay, love that. I'm getting a pen and paper out right now and writing that down, as even if it's not our next one, that needs to be one, because I love that idea. I like that a lot.
My vision boards are like bullet points. I just bullet point. It never gets to the actual picture.
So now we're gonna take your bullet points and turn it into a creative, artistic visual vision board. I love that. Thanks so much for contributing that idea, Kasia.
Also an idea for our next event. I do think that getting to know each other and just having those interactions and opportunities to get to know each other do help with finding opportunities of collaboration. So like even if we don't do anything specific, maybe if it's just like grabbing a meal or grabbing coffee, I think that would also be a good thing, because new ideas might come up.
Yeah, I think that's great. And one thing we can do, to jump ahead a little bit, at the end of this, we're going to ask if you guys are all interested to join a group chat on CutUp so we could continue this conversation. And in that group chat, we can all kind of show our availabilities to plan a dinner that we're all available and a meetup spot that works for all of us, a more central location within the DMV for all of us. And yeah, literally just plan a dinner where we all meet and hang out and talk and continue to have this conversation in person. So now I guess I wanna gauge how many of you guys are more excited about an in-person event next, and how many of you guys wanna like wait it in a little bit and kind of have another virtual event first before we do an in-person, which I'm open to either one, but if we get an idea, then we can kind of gear the activities towards that. So I guess I'll do this. Raise your hand if you want the next event to be in person. Okay. Okay. We love to see it. We love to see it. I think that's a decent amount. We can, I think, let's talk about some in-person ideas. We can plan that. And then for any of us, I realize there might be some of us that's not actually local at the moment. We can also plan a virtual event because they're so easy. They're virtual. So we could also plan a virtual event to make sure that nobody that isn't in the area right now doesn't stay or doesn't get disconnected, because I think all of us kind of definitely have something here now. We have a connection, and I don't want anybody to lose that for any reason. So I think, yeah, we'll do both. So, do you guys want to do something more like Steven suggested, like a dinner or like a picnic, something that's more just a hangout to get to know each other? Or would you guys want to plan like an event like the vision board or maybe painting or idea? This is something I did for someone's birthday last year. We had a picnic and just had like basically a charcuterie board, and then we also just brought canvases and paint, and so we did both in one. We could have a meal and a picnic and paint and combine them, so we can do that. Photo shoot. There are a lot of different avenues we can go down. So what I'm gonna do is ask you guys to drop in the chat your favorite, like an idea that either was already bounced around or something that's in your head and you haven't had a chance to say it because I keep talking, of like what you would most want to do. Let's do that. Coffee meetup. I love that. Simple, easy. There are a lot of cute cafes around here. What else we got?
Not necessarily what I want to do, but just something Brian mentioned gave me an idea. He mentioned the art of storytelling, which kind of made me remember the thing I tried with Steven once. We went to these DC like storytelling workshops because like a friend, and then so basically the idea is like they come up with like random prompts. It's sort of like a skill of like, oh, you because their whole thing is like believing in the art of storytelling and how that like can sort of like create a message, and like how we can learn from each other's stories. And like they come up with random prompts of like, oh, what was your worst date or something like that, and then you have like a minute to come up with a short story and you tell it. It was interesting. Not necessarily something I'd prefer to do, but like I know some people might find that interesting.
I actually love that. I think that'd be a cool virtual event, actually. If like for people, for example, like me or Natalia or Steven, who are trying to build their social presence or want to start building their social presence, but they don't know how to tell their story, this would be a cool event to just get your feet wet a little bit and think about how to start. I love that. I think that'd be a cool virtual event for sure. And then there are some that were dropped in the chat. Hold on, let me write Luis's down real quick. So Andrea said happy hour, which another good classic. I think that's a great one. It also, gives us the opportunity to get a little loose. So definitely love that one. And one thing that Steven mentioned to me before is that he doesn't want his life to be a string of through Fridays, and then you either have no events to look forward to on the weekend or you're scrambling to find one. So a happy hour to look forward to at the end of the week is a great one, I think. And then a picnic. Oh, festivals in DC and then food festivals. I love that idea. I actually, and some of you guys have mentioned this too, just like, actually I lied. Y'all didn't mention it in this conversation, but people have mentioned this too about like just going on Eventbrite and looking for events on there. But let's say we have this group chat and we look for events and we drop it in that group chat, and then we can be connected in like going to the festivals together and making plans like that. So it doesn't always have to be an event we put on. It could just be an event we plan to go to together, which I also really, really like. And then a virtual option skill. Oh, I love that. It's almost like a virtual talent show, except you're not just showing off your skills, you're teaching them. So I like that a lot. You guys, we chose the right people to come to this event because these are amazing ideas that you guys are coming up with. I am loving all of them. Yeah, no, I like all of these ideas. I think we definitely are going to plan an in-person event and a virtual event coming up hopefully soon. Me, Stephen, and Luis are going to need to get together and take all of these ideas and see which one can be most feasible for us to do next. But that doesn't mean that we can't all also just do it as like a thing. Like, we don't have to only do it as like caught up. We could hang out and do some of these just cuz. So what I want to do now is just kind of, I love all these ideas. Thank you so much for contributing. This whole event has been a lot easier getting through because you guys are all contributing and actually conversing with me. So I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for that. And now we're just going to show you a little bit of the Caught Up app so that you guys can see how we can use it to plan these events. And then we'll end it off. I know it's already 12:56. I know, so we'll try to go quick. But then we'll end it off with giving you guys the QR code to download the app and go straight to the group chat so that we all stay connected, so that everyone in this call can stay connected. And we'll continue to have these conversations offline and plan what our next event will be. And then, needless to say, like, you guys were invited to this event and we mentioned how it was invite only. But as we continue to plan events, don't think that we can't also connect others. I think the best part about the fact that we have this group here is that we all have people in our own networks that we can now connect each other to. So whatever the next event is going to be, it also doesn't have to be just us. It can be us and anyone else we deem fit. So, but yeah, I think that will be the next step. So I'm going to hand it off to Steven to just give you guys a rundown of the app itself so you guys can understand it a little bit.
Yeah, I'll be quick. And the main point of this isn't really just only to get downloads. It's just that we have a vision for how things can be better. So on the app, there's this chat that we made called the DMV Rebrand. We're going to use the chat just like any other messenger just to figure out ideas for the next event that we're going to have or share. Yeah, basically just communication. That's kind of important when you're trying to set up something. But then on top of that, the difference that we have compared to other platforms that that exist currently is we also have like this scheduler. And what this scheduler allows us to do is, I guess I'll give you guys an example. Like, if I was a photographer and I meet up with other photographers at an event or something like that, if I connect with them on here, then I can just see or be inspired by what they're doing in the future. Like, oh, I have nothing to do over the weekend. Let me just look at, okay, what is Brian doing? Oh, he's going to this other photography event that I didn't know about. So now I can just ask him if I can tag along. So that we believe that this helps cultivate community, because as we spend more time with other people, it makes it a lot easier to get to know them and collaborate, I guess. So that's the short rundown. And then, of course, per group chat, we also have a place where we're going to be keeping track of events. That way it's just easier to keep track of events, I guess. So that's a short rundown, but we just think that this is one of the best platforms and tools that we have to try and do what we're trying to do, to try and connect people. So that's why, yeah, we're trying to do this.
Yeah, and like Steven mentioned, we are still building this app. I mean, it's there, it's downloadable, it works, but we want it to work the best way for our users. And you guys being some of our first few users, your feedback of how it works is also very important to us. So like, if you scan that QR code and it takes you somewhere else, let us know. If you download it and the creating a profile system is way too much, let us know. If the user interface is clunky or whatever feedback you have, we are open to it. Like, to us, you guys are like VIP users. You guys are the people that are really going to help us flush this out and figure out how to make it work. And so please give us your feedback. And also, yeah, we just want to be connected and create this group and have a way for us to continue having these events. Like I said, this is just the beginning. This virtual event is just the beginning to get us connected, but the real rebrand comes after this, and it's going to come from the happy hours and the picnics and the paintings and the skill sharing and all the awesome ideas that you guys shared. I think each event will all grow ourselves, and through it will eventually end up impacting the DMV's reputation. So that is what we have. I don't know if while I was talking, you guys tried the QR code and to download, but we can stay on for a little bit to help troubleshoot and see if any of you guys need some help or anything like that. Or if you guys have any questions, comments, whatever. Thank you guys so much, truly, for spending this time with us and hearing us out and conversing and really giving us the opportunity to rebrand the DMV.
Yeah, I have the app, but I still scanned it because it's just so magical how it opens the group chat.
Yes. Yeah. Steven's very excited about this. By the way, Steven and Luis, everything you will see on the app, Steven and Luis developed it. Like, they did this. They built it. It's all them, and it's truly impressive and incredible. And so mad props goes to them for that, because out of all the things that they mentioned their passion projects and creative projects are, another one is creating a whole freaking app. So
thank you, Thomas.
Of course. While you guys do that, I'm gonna go follow you guys.
Thank you. I have to drop now, but thank you so much for putting this together.
Thank you. I'll see you later, Natalia.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. It was nice meeting everybody.
Bye. Thank you for joining.
Bye.
Yeah, it was great meeting. Thank you guys so much. This is awesome.
Of course.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so